If I had to make $500,000 cash in just 6 months, how would I do it? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video, and I actually think it's going to be much easier than you think. Let's get started. Our amazing creative director, Court, sent me this tweet right here, and it said, you have to make $500,000 cash in less than 6 months. One rule, nothing illegal, nothing scammy. How would you do it? Now, I have some other questions. Do I have the experience? Do I have the contacts that I have? Do I have the skill set? Do I have any money at all? I'm going to assume that I don't have any money, but I have skills and experience. And the reason I say that is because, I'm in rooms with people that do $1 million days. I've met someone that's done a $9 million day, $10 million day. So $500,000 in less than 6 months, it doesn't sound like a super big challenge based on the environments that I'm in. And it's interesting because you see these people that do so well like that just absolutely blow it out of the water and make it seem super easy and fun and effortless. And you see them and you think, that's what I want right there. That is my goal. While it is really easy for them, it might be hard for you at your current skill set. That's all that it is. That's the really good news here. I want you to think about someone like Simone Biles, who is one of the best gymnasts in the world, and the way that she does her routines, it looks completely effortless to her because of her skill level, right? That's all it really takes is skill stacking one on top of the other that makes things easier, more fun, and move a lot quicker. And so the people that are making $1 million days, $10 million days easily, they have this underground root system. And this underground root system keeps them strong. It keeps them steady. It helps them become a shade tree for other people. And it is the very thing that makes people want to gather around them because of how incredibly steady they are. You see, a tree grows in two directions. There is gravitropic growth and phototropic growth. So the phototropic growth is toward the sun, away from gravity. And usually, I want you to think about the trees that are just so gorgeous. The trees that people travel around the world to go and see. I think about a red oak. The trunk is just enormous, and someone stands in front of the trunk and they look like a miniature person because the tree is so big. This is what people come to see. It's the trunk. This is the $1 million day. This is the audience that everyone wants, right? This is the engagement that these people are getting. This is them filling a live event room. You see them, you experience them, you watch their essence, you see them show up on stage and you're like, that right there, that's who I want to be. That is their tree. The people who have this type of tree, who exude this type of steadiness and certainty, they don't have this for nothing. They've earned it and developed it through experiencing this gravitropic growth. Gravitropic growth is down, away from sun, towards gravity. So think about gravitropic. The root word of gravitropic is grave, gravity. So it goes down. Now, a tree of this size, it would never have roots that look like that, right? No, it's impossible. It would just fall right over. The roots typically mirror the size of the tree. So when you see someone do $1 million day, $9 million day, get on stage in an hour and do $8 million in sales, which I have seen with my own two eyes, you can know that while you're seeing them perform, there's a lot of this that's happening. This is in the dark, by yourself, where it's cold and wet and nobody cares and nobody's watching you, and the failures and the reading and the studying and the practicing. It's sometimes, most of the time, it's decades of this. I know my very first event that I ever held, I'm telling you, I gave it my all to sell this thing and to get people to show up. It was at this beauty salon that I went to, and it was all about wellness. It was going to be in January, the perfect time of year. I worked so hard on my speech. I practiced my speech. I went to Toastmasters to practice it. If you know what Toastmasters is, it's like a public speaking club. And I gave it my absolute all. And when I showed up, I thought for sure at least 15 people would be there. At least. There were 4. One was my mom, one was my friend, one was a person that worked there. Okay. And then one was from Instagram that I just happened to have met. I acted like there was 20,000 people in the room for sure, but I would consider that experience as this right here. All the practicing, all the selling, all the preparing, all the executing to only have 4 people there, which was quite painful and honestly a little bit embarrassing. But I think most people have these experiences and they think, oh, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not meant for this. Let me do something else. Let me try a different avenue. When really what you're doing is you're kind of moving and planting a seed in a different area and starting all over again, when in reality, that experience was a root growing deeper and getting stronger. So all that progress of trying to develop an event and try to sell it and try to create the speech, like that's what you build upon. That doesn't mean anything. You just build upon it. It's so easy to see this and forget that this is important. And then they try to do this type of growth and they feel like it's not for them. And so they move on and they don't even have the chance to grow deeper. So that is my framing, okay? That is my framing for why I believe in order to make $500,000 in 6 months, you have to have some of this. I'm not saying it all has to be perfect, but it's got to be a little bit of rootiness to grab onto so that you can grow higher. It's so funny. If you click the tweet, it's a thread. So if you click the tweet and look, people are kind of joking. They're saying things like, I don't know how this would be possible. They're joking about a certain type of website. They are kind of talking about things that honestly seem really difficult. I saw one that said, I would find a company that's trying to sell for $50 million. With my branding expertise, I would help it sell for $60 million and then get a $600,000 cut from selling it for more than $50 million. And I was like, okay, that just seems like hard to me when I think about that. I'm like, okay, so you have to find somebody who is probably already in the process of selling their company, because if you know anything about selling your company, you know it is quite a feat. And a lot of times if they're already in the process, the person potentially buying the company has already agreed upon the branding that's already there. So you'd have to back up a little bit and try again. And then you don't even know if it would sell for 10 million more than 50 million. So, it just seems like hard, okay, from my perspective. But my answer for you now is totally different than what it would have been 6 months ago based on all the experience that I've had. It's absolutely turned my world upside down. And my regret, I don't have many regrets. And I don't even think that this is a regret because I don't think I was like fully ready. But if I had to pick a regret, it would be not doing this earlier, not doing this from the get-go, not doing this from the very, very beginning. I would, number one, borrow money. I would borrow as much money as I needed to from any person, any family member, any bank, any loan, any investor. I would borrow money. And I would use that money to get into the most highest quality mastermind I could find. The one that had people with aligned values, adjacent businesses, and had high results. Now, some masterminds are hard to get into because you have to have a certain level of result in order to enter into. And if that's the case, I would probably try to sales girl my way into a mastermind that I didn't, quote, belong into. And what I mean by sales girl my way is sell my way, sell myself so that they would let me in. I would pay more if I needed to. I would find the money somehow, some way, and get into a mastermind and get into a group. And then I would try to find people within those masterminds that had thriving businesses, but had a gap for their clients potentially. So for example, we offer sales skill. We help people master sales skills so that they can effortlessly and easily sell their offer. I noticed that there's a lot of people that have certification offers, and I love a certification offer. Beautiful thing. The problem is once they get certified, in order to use that certification, they've got to sell their offer. Okay. And the person who is offering the certification, they want their students to be successful, because when their students are successful, then those successful students become a visual representation of what's possible when you get certified. So all roads lead back to the certification. And so it becomes this beautiful invisible hand, word of mouth type situation. So the person who is offering the certification wants their students to be successful, but they might not want to teach sales. And that is a perfect place for me to slip in either we create an offer together, they pay me to train their people, or they license my material to keep it in their certification. And then maybe I would coach their people maybe on like a yearly basis or something like that, and really just align myself with something that they already have going. Like if someone's already in momentum, you can just kind of join their momentum very easily. That's one thing I would try to do. Another thing is I would try to do some joint ventures. A joint venture is where you kind of have this quick, timely, I say timely because it's just a small amount of time, partnership, creating an offer. And the reason I would specifically do this, number one, leveraging other people's audiences, my skill set, what we do is so incredibly specific. I really haven't seen anyone teach at the level of specificity, develop people through this process as much as we do. It is very, very specific. So I would align with people who have an adjacent offer. So for example, let's say someone teaches someone how to create an offer, or how to get people to book calls, or how to create amazing, engaging content that gets people to DM you. All those activities end up making someone in conversation with somebody to hopefully sell their offer. And that is where we come in. It's like when they're in that conversation, that is where we can help you absolutely make the most out of all the hard work that you've done. I've seen so many times people spend so much effort and energy and time building their offer and creating all this beautiful stuff and these assets and writing their books and YouTube videos and editing and practicing and speaking. And then they get into the conversation and they just fumble at the 1 yard line because they missed these clarifying questions and they missed the framing for the right person. And it's just like gut wrenching and heart wrenching. And so for someone who has an offer set up in that way that helps people get them kind of going, for us to come in and partner with them to do what they do is huge. And here's why it's beneficial for them. Number one, they are helping their students succeed more. They don't have to deliver on a single thing. Like, hello, that's a vibe. And their people, I think I already said this, their people win quicker, which makes them look better. So it's 10 out of 10, a beautiful partnership in so many ways. Another cool thing about a joint venture is that it's really going to help you magnify your brand and expedite your brand growth, because when your face is next to somebody else's face in the market, the audience will associate you two together, and therefore your brands kind of transcend to each other. So it's a beautiful way to build a brand. And if you're just getting started, you likely don't have a team. And a joint venture allows teams to kind of work together. So if you don't have a team and they do have a team, you might could work out a deal where they get a little bit more of the percentage than you do, because so much of their team is doing the heavy lifting, and that's totally, totally fine. It's so worth it. And I would do that like immediately. So come in and partner with offers and come into someone's offer, create an offer with a joint venture. Or lastly, I would also just create my own offer and partner with people to get on their podcasts and their YouTubes and in any way possible to really leverage their audience to sell my offer itself. Really strategically thinking about how you can get adjacent to some of these people and really be clear that like you're not necessarily a competitor, you do something super different is going to be key to this. Now, the reason I'm saying 6 months ago I probably wouldn't have done this is because I really wasn't in the rooms with the right people. And just a couple weeks ago, like I'm recording this on April the 17th, the beginning of April, I was in a room in a mastermind, and I've got 3 conversations going for partnerships. I have a call today. I've already set one up, and I have one in the works. It's been 2 weeks. That's why borrowing money to get in a room that you need to get into is 100 million % worth it. 100 million % worth it. You speed things up so much faster, and like money speeds. Like you can either do something with time or with money. And if you don't have the money, borrow it. Absolutely borrow it. I have some scripture here that I want to read. My coach Myron talks about this scripture often about really what God like tells us to do in order to create wealth and to really take complete ownership of your life. It's a story of Elisha and the widow's oil. And it is so incredible. I've read it quite often and kind of just been thinking about my interpretation of the scripture, and I want to read it to you. It says, a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, saying, your servant, my husband is dead. And you know that your servant feared the Lord, and the creditor is coming to take my 2 sons to be his slaves. She's saying, your servant, like it's your problem. Your servant, my husband is dead. Like, what are you going to do about it? She's freaking out, right? So Elisha said, what should I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? He's saying, whoa. You're putting the blame on me? What am I going to do for you? What are you going to do for me? What is in your house? And she said, your maidservant has nothing in the house but a jar of oil. I've got nothing. All I have is this jar of oil. Now, how many of you have looked at yourself that way? You're like, I have nothing to offer. I have no skill set. I have no offer. I have no service. I have no experience. I have nothing to offer for you. What are you talking about? All I have is me. Just this little story here. But he said, go borrow. Go borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels. Do not gather just a few. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons, then pour into all the vessels and set aside the full ones. He's saying, go borrow. Go borrow them all, not just a few, from your neighbors, from your friends. Like, go and ask, go borrow the vessels, not just a few. So she went from him. She shut the door behind her, and her sons who brought the vessels to her, she poured it out. Now it came to pass when the vessels were full, that said to her sons, bring me another vessel. And he said to her, there is not another vessel. So the oil ceased. Then she came home and told the man of God, and he said, go sell the oil, pay your debt, and you and your sons can live on the rest. Come on, everybody say sell. Go sell your oil. He didn't say give it away. He didn't say just offer it to somebody, just help somebody with the oil. He said sell the oil. So what are the steps here? Number 1, take inventory of what you do have. Take inventory. Number 2, borrow. Go and borrow so that you can use what you do have that's already in your home. Then he says sell. Go sell after you've borrowed money so that you can leverage what you do have. Then pay the debt based on what you've sold, and then live on the rest. Live in profit. Live in abundance with you and your sons. That is the game. That is how you leverage other people's money to make whatever amount of money that you want to make in whatever amount of time. And the best part is that this is an infinite game. You can do this again and again and again and again and again, and it never ever stops. I know it is so easy to think about borrowing money as being bad or careless or risky. I hear that, and I want you just to drive down the streets of the most local, high traffic city that you are in right now and look at all the buildings. Look at all the businesses in those streets and just ask yourself, are these people right here scared of borrowing? Are these people right here avoiding debt? The answer 10 out of 10 times is no. No business has been built without borrowing some sort of money in some capacity. Like, I cannot wrap my mind around not using someone else's money to speed up your process. And so my question for you is, what makes you think that you are exempt from this law of advancement? The law of advancement is everything must grow down before it grows up. Roots grow down before it grows up. Babies fall down before they learn to walk and run. Money, like businesses, bank accounts go down before it grows up. This is the law of advancement, and you're not exempt from it. You're not exempt from gravity, right? That is a law of nature. The law of advancement is like the law of gravity. We all live according to these laws. The good news is you can use it to your advantage. And that is exactly what Scripture says. That's exactly what I would do to make that money quick and dirty, if you know what I'm saying. I hope this was helpful. If it was, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.